Hello, I'm Royal Seely, aka Mignonette, and welcome to my channel. I am primarily a Lolita fashion focused YouTube channel where I talk about various pieces of my wardrobe or whatever else I feel like talking about. So sometimes that's things like Legends of Zelda and synonyms, and sometimes my cat. So, yeah, this week we have something very exciting where I'm reflecting on my experience at Tekko this past year in July. So, if you haven't already seen it, I uploaded the fashion show onto my main page. You can either go to my channel to find it, or I'll link it above or in the description. And it was a lot of fun. About this time last year, a friend and I had already been planning on going to Tekko just because there was so much J fashion content, and if you're on the eastern side of the US, it seems to become more and more rare to find Lolita fashion and J fashion content. And even outside of that, previously larger conventions or gatherings have become a little less possible in our current economic climate. So we wanted to make sure that we got to experience a big J fashion event. And this one was somewhat closer to us than some of the West Coast ones or the international ones. So we were very excited, and as soon as tickets went on sale, we bought ourselves a pair. And even more lucky, the premier fashion guest for this year was Metamorphose Temps, which is my favorite Lolita brand and the one that made me get into the fashion. What started as a trip between the two of us ended up expanding until about 10 comm members total came along for the ride, and we all had a really great time. So I'm going to be recounting my experience through the different days, as well as anything else that comes up along the way. Yeah, so let's get started. So Thursday's cord was very comfortable as I was going to be the driver for the carpool for Metamorphose Temptifees Rabbit Cafe in green, the short sleeve OP, with my natural hair and basically trying to keep it as minimal as possible because we had a 6-hour drive ahead of us, and I wanted to make sure I was comfortable the entire time. One of the ways I did that was by making sure I had as few layers on as possible. In addition to that, since it's summer, it's been a little warmer, and short sleeve OPs are just the way to go. When we got down there, we met up with some of our other friends who had come as well, and a few of us shuffled around. We got our badges picked up, and the badge design for this year was really cute. The theme for it was Kawaii Apocalypse. So then you have this wonderful zombie. About half of us split off, as a decent number of us were in the fashion show one way or another, either as a designer or as a model. I went to my first panel, which was a really fun magic related one, and magic not in the sense of the trading card game, but in the sense of like witchy things. That was hosted by two Owl House characters, Ida and Hootie. And I thought that was a lot of fun and a great way to start off the con weekend. So a nice, easy Thursday as we settled in. We went to Bebe's Kitchen where I got some very delicious crispy tofu. I am vegetarian most times. Sometimes I'll partake in fish. It really just depends on how I'm feeling that day. But it was really nice to have a delicious meal not very far from the convention center that filled me up and made me feel good. This was also where my friend and I got our first ribbon. So I didn't know about this again, but apparently there's something called the ribbon game that Tekko takes part of. I don't know if other anime conventions do this, but Tekko, it's a big thing. They had an entire thing on their website for it. And the ribbon that we got was that our cord was really good, and yeah, it was super cute. So I also didn't know what to do with this when I first got it. I was like, oh, this is so cute. So I put one in my bag, and it wasn't until the next day when I was walking around that I saw people attaching them to their badge, and they would have like a whole, just like a whole stream of them. It was really cool to see. And Friday is when the big event starts to happen where the convention really gets going. First half of the day, there's a lot of practices for people who are performing either in the idol show, the runway, that kind of thing. So my friends and I who were not modeling took the chance to wander around, poke our heads into some things, and to stare over the skywalk into the exhibitor's room to see what Metamorphose was laying out. For the first half of this day, I had Metamorphose Pink Lemonade in Lavender, the drop waist JSK, and I went very yellow lemony for this one. So I wore that for the bulk of the day before switching in the afternoon, because the highlight is going to the Metamorphose booth, and then I got some of the pink over the knee socks. I was very surprised that they went over my knee. Usually they tend to go under, but that's Meta for you. I love what they do. It was kind of a starstruck moment too, to see a physical spot for a brand that I really look up to and admire. Very flustered, but outside of that, I kind of tried to look around as well and see what else was going on. Went to the fashion show, and we made sure to line up extra early just because in other conventions I know it can be kind of difficult to get in. I was basing this off of my previous year's experience at Otakon, and the lines were just bananas. So we would line up an hour or two before the panel, and sometimes that still wouldn't be enough to guarantee seating. So we got there very early, and we waited, and it was a little bit confusing because part of the ribbon game, I saw that if we were within the first, I think like 50 or 100, we got an additional ribbon. And now that I knew what ribbons were, I kind of wanted to get a few more. And the previous panel went out. I believe that was the dance competition. And we just kind of sat and waited. And during this process, it really was surprising to see so many familiar faces of lolitas that I either recognized from social media sites, whether that was Tumblr or Instagram or even YouTube, and to see them in a physical location. This fashion can feel a little isolating and small at times, even with bigger communities and in-person events. You see some of the same faces repeatedly, so to see newer faces that at the same time are familiar because we are all in this niche hobby was really cool. And there were people who came pretty far too, so yeah, like even further than we did. It was really neat to see. The fashion show went off very well, very exciting. I started that, as I already said, so if you want to see the video for that, you can check it out on my channel or in the description. Links there, but it was after this point that we were able to meet up with our model and designer friends and actually get to hang out together. The commitment for this event was a lot, so for some of them it was the first time I had seen them just in general. Even though we had all checked in early on Thursday, I really didn't see some of them until end of the day, late at night on Friday, which was really surprising. Props to all of the models and the designers, as well as the fashion show staff and the MC for the event, Kat. I think they all did a really good job at putting on an enjoyable event. I think my only real, suggestion for this event would be for there to be staff that was actually at the line ahead of time. That way there could be some communication about whether or not we are allowed to just walk in and sit anywhere, or if we have to sit and line up, and what the deal that was, because that was a little bit confusing. And also, I really appreciate them having the Tekko and logos on the side when they were doing the introductions for the different audience. This might not have shown up in my recording, but there was the main stage and then two side screens that were very big. And I think when introducing the brands, it would be nice if they could add like a blurb, just for those who are hard of hearing or who better interpret speech when it's written down. But I had a great time. I thought, great job, lots of fun. We got a bite to eat at Nikki's Thai, and it was pretty delicious. No complaints here. I did make sure to stop off at the room so I could change from my JSK into another short sleeve OP, Metamorphose's Profusion of Flowers in Nostalgia in the opal green colorway. This is because, again, after a long day of being in accord with so many layers and it's just nice to take a bit of a load off. And I think if I had any suggestions for people going to these events is, even if you think your shoes are broken in and you're comfortable, bring something for your heels to cushion, or your toes. There are people that have specialized socks that you can use to add extra padding. Um, yeah, so I never had an issue with these shoes before, but I'm also not used to really wearing them for 12 or more hours a day, so that could be part of it. So this is the other big J Fashion event of the day, which was the swap meet. And this was a little bit dicey as well. I don't think it's the fault of the J Fashion staff, at least to my knowledge, but it was kind of a little messy. So some of our friends went early to stand in the line, or to line up ahead of time for the swap. And the way it was set up is you could RSVP a table. If you were quick enough, I think maybe it was like $10. It was some small amount to reserve a table to sell your wares. And then if you had one or two items, you could carry it and bring it in, and there was a community rack. And you only had the one or two items, you could put it on the rack with your information, and then they could call out and say, hey, so and so, someone wants to buy like your plaid JSK or whatever else. So it was very easygoing, in theory. So our friends left a little bit earlier. Hold on, just a minute. So our friends left a little bit earlier to line up for the night swap entrance, and we thought for sure that they would be way ahead of us. We left dinner, we went to go find them, and the line was at least down 3/4 of the hallway from what we could see. So the few of us that didn't go to line up early, we were kind of walking up to see what was going on. And they ended up putting the night swap in a very tiny panel room. I'd been in a few of them, and there were different sizes for the panel rooms. So this was not really, I guess, ideal, but it was still interesting. So the friend and I that had walked up to see what was going on were able to hear the J Fashion staff yelling that they were only going to be letting in 3 people at a time to avoid any kind of crowding or mischief, I guess, that could occur. But unfortunately, the people who were not directly near the panel room couldn't hear what was going on, and the line was just getting longer. So when we ended up walking down the line, there's a couple of people confused, like, what's going on. I should mention at this point it was 8:30, 8:45, and the line was just getting so long. It was impossibly long. They're like, what is going on? So that's where we passed along that they were monitoring the amount of people who could enter, which I think was smart given how tiny the room ended up being. I also heard from rumors that they weren't expecting the swap meet to be as popular. It's worth mentioning that this was not a Lolita specific swap meet. This was a J Fashion general swap meet, I believe, although a lot of it did end up being Lolita fashion. Yeah, so that's where it got a little bit interesting. People who had been waiting for a really long time up in front of us started getting tired and were leaving, so we were moving up slowly that way. And even more interesting was the kind of bartering situation that began to happen. Is you had people with their one or two items that were just going to use the rack walking down the line, showing off what they had and giving their price that they would like, or best offer. It was kind of chaotic, but really entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. And it led to the person who I was in line next to getting their first Lolita fashion piece for free, which was really heartwarming to see. Everyone that is Lolita knows what it's like when they receive their first piece and the magic of that. But I don't think many of us have someone around there to see it happening. So to see it all go down was very much, it was touching. It was very touching, and it was like this really cute onagashi piece. So yeah, nothing to say. It was just so heartwarming to see someone get their first piece and then for free. So the community can really be such a nice place. Eventually we did get in, and this was after a bunch of people left. If you're in good company, it's not too bad. So I'm lucky that I had some com members with me. We were all chatting it up, getting to learn the people in the line. That was the other thing, is it was a very social event. I'm usually not very talkative, but I did everything I could to try and reach out to people and be like, hey, I like your coordinate, or like, oh, how far did you come from? How did you hear about this? Like, tell me what you're wearing. And it was really fun. That was one of the best parts, was meeting all of the different people who were into the fashion and loved the fashion, and learning a little bit about them. So if you took the time to come and say hi or to talk and chat with me, I really appreciate it. And I hope that you enjoyed the event as well. We are in for another thunderstorm, so if you hear anything, it is what it is. I do love the rain, so we're going to keep on going. So eventually we get into the swap itself, and it's a swap. It was really good. I was super good. I didn't leave with any new main pieces. I just had gotten this really cute detachable sleeve Baby the Starshine bright navy blouse, as I'm trying to fill in some of the gaps of my wardrobe where I'll have like an off color of one item but nothing else to put it with. So we're filling in that navy niche. Next to that, I also ended up getting the socks to the series I was wearing for Fusion of Flowers and Nostalgia. I didn't get these socks initially when it came out because I was like, I don't know if I could wear these with anything else. So to see them there, and for what I consider to be a deal, who could say no? So now I have the full set, which is really nice. After that, I went with a friend who I didn't see the whole time, and we saw my first late night panel. I'm usually an early to bed type of person. I go to bed between 9 and 10 if I have my way. But I figured I'm on vacation, and vacation me is a little wild. So I went to a late night panel, and it was for a horror podcast called Oh the Horror. And it was very good. I like scary things. It's definitely one I'm going to have to keep an eye on. And I was a little bummed when we got our badges. The lanyard it was on was this really tiny, thin, black thing. It was not very cute. So I was already planning on getting a cute lanyard. And Oh the Horror put out and gave out lanyards and buttons and things like that. Very nice. So that's what I ended up putting my badge on, was this really cute lanyard with different yokai. A lot of fun. So that was Friday. Next day was Saturday, and this was another exciting day of possibilities. Now that my model friends had their modeling done, we could all head out together and see the things that had gotten us interested on the schedule page. They tried this new format on their website because they were trying to go green, which I do appreciate. I will say that it made things hard at times. If your service wasn't very good, you were not able to use the web map. The map itself on the website was kind of confusing, so it would have been nice to have either a designated app, like how Otakon has done, or a physical copy. And there was a print room, so we were hoping if we went in there, maybe they'd be able to print something out for us. That way it would be easier to see what was going on. Some people do very good with a digital format. I definitely do a lot better when it's on a physical surface, but I know it probably is a lot cheaper too, so I don't blame them, since I think this is a small to medium-sized convention. This was a fun one because some of the descriptions on the app, or some of the descriptions on the schedule page, were missing. So there was something that was just called Meta Q&A, and we were kind of debating, since there was two of them. There was one at 10 a.m. and there was one at like 5 or 6 p.m. and no description, and it just said industry guest. So we were hoping that it meant Metamorphose, Temps, Fille, and not Meta like Facebook. I don't know, because I was like, oh, maybe they're like tech focused here. Good news, it was Metamorphose, Temps, Fille. So we made it to the 10 a.m. Q&A panel, and we made it to the 10 a.m. panel. For this day, I was wearing the new Wonder Card Queen of Hearts, aka Card Playing Kitty, tuxedo front JSK in Saks. I was really excited because when I showed up to the panel, one of the guests was also wearing the Saks colorway, only it was the OP version. And yeah, again, very starstruck. I've been learning Japanese, so I really wanted to say something either after the panel, just be like, hey, thanks, like, I appreciate your stuff. But all the Japanese left my body, except I could kind of follow along a bit for the actual Q&A portion, which made me feel really nice about my current progress and makes me motivated to continue learning. They were super sweet. Yeah, they asked us all about how we got into the fashion, and there was some informal conversation and questions as well. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and since it was 10 a.m., it wasn't as packed as I expected it to be. And I was kind of insulted on their behalf because I was like, it's meta. But I also know not everyone is a morning person, and with so many panels, you do have to prioritize. It was also after the previous night's fashion show where they unveiled their newest wall release, and then a preview of what their Halloween release will be looking like. So a lot of questions related to that, as well as other topics. After that, we went to Idol Fest. This was my first time going to any event or panel like this. So you had people who were singing and dancing, or just singing and doing a performance that way, or just dancing, and it was really cool. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was so different from anything that I had really seen before. So obviously I came here for the J Fashion events, but I think next year I'm going to try and sprinkle in some more non-J Fashion events, just because it broke up the day really nicely, and it made me appreciate everything that was going on a bit more. During this, I also wanted to try my hand at getting my first ever autograph. I've always heard about friends going to conventions and getting autographs. I hadn't done it before since I just was confused. I didn't know how to go about it. But Jiraiya from Naruto was going to be there, so I was like, maybe I will try and get an autograph. So that's what I set out to do after the Idol Fest. This was also a bit confusing because the map didn't make any sense to me. I was very lost. I also couldn't see at what times this voice actor was going to be present for signatures, so we ended up going downstairs, and after like working with the map on my phone a bit, I was like, I guess it's in the same area as the exhibitors hall. And I wandered around until I found some staff, and I was just like, hey, like, I don't know what to do. I want to see this guy, but I don't know how to go about seeing this guy. And the staff was very helpful, and they're like, hey, like, I'll show you where he'll be. This is when he'll be here. Line up at this time. You go, you get this. This is what you do. So I'm very thankful. I really think the staff is like an unsung hero here. They were all very kind. I had a couple of other instances where I had to ask staff for help, both J Fashion and non-J Fashion staff, and they never made me feel weird or I don't know. I've been at other conventions in the past where the staff wasn't as nice, and I'm really thankful that the people here were so willing to help. So I got my autograph, and I feel like he set the standards really high. I don't know if they all do this, like all of the voice actors do this, but I'm gonna remember this for a while. So I'm in the line waiting, I guess for him to come back to do the autographs, and he shows up and he's got his like the shinobi green vest with the Jiraiya t-shirt on underneath. He's like a little bit dressed out for it, and he goes through the line and he starts giving out these I Heart Jiraiya bumper stickers, which just like I think this is so cool. So cool. So we go up, and he has all these options of prints that you can have signed. Maybe I'm explaining this and you already know it, but since this was new for me, I thought I would give the information out there. So when you go to get an autograph, it seems like the setup is the voice actors will have various prints you can choose from, and then you can choose what kind of autograph you want. If you want a special message, if you want like a basic, like if you bring your own thing, they'll sign that. There's like an additional fee depending on what it is and the size of it. So I just bought the print that he already had there. He had several to choose from, but I went with this one where he was sitting with Naruto. And he signed it not only as himself, David Lodge at the bottom, but then also as Jiraiya, which I thought was a really nice and unique touch. Definitely going to frame this and put this somewhere. Yeah, I would get an autograph again. It kind of felt magical. I bought a lot of other cute things throughout. I got little accessories here and there. I also got things like prints and sweatshirts and clothing. I think at this point, since I've been wearing Lolita so much, I was really focusing on what will make me comfortable. So I got a hoodie. I got a lot of art prints. I was surprised that people are still putting out Death Note art, and I think there's been a bit of a resurgence in these 2000s anime. A lot of Ouran Host Club, for example, a lot. And still a lot of JoJo's, and I think that's going to be popular for the foreseeable future. And they are so impressive. I like what they do where they put the black marks to make it look like they're part of the animation style and the manga style. But yeah, so I ended up getting Death Note chip art of L and Lolita. Why do I feel like it's Lolita? I don't know why it's called that. Anyway, I got chip art of L and Light. Maybe it's Lolite, and I've just been saying it wrong. I got chip art of L and Light just because the nostalgia of it. And for the price, I was like, you're giving this away. I think it was like $5, maybe $8. I was like, this is insane. So I got a lot of nice art. I ended up getting a Lady Tsunade plushie for my partner and a really pretty candle for my sister that looked like a cactus, and it smelled very good. That was the main day, Saturday. After that, we, as a massive group of 10 or so people, went to Sushi to Kim, where we had some really nice food. And I want to kind of talk about the surrounding area of Pittsburgh, just because I lived in a pretty big city before. I'm part of a city community, and then I travel every now and then to go to bigger cities for meets. And before this, the week before, I was actually in Boston. So when I went to Pittsburgh, I was kind of surprised. It was a lot quieter than I was used to, but it was still pretty clean. And then by the end of the day, it was kind of a little bit different. So we went to Sushi to Kim, and this was the first time when I was in Pittsburgh that I didn't really feel safe, and the people I was with didn't feel safe. It's one of those areas where if you're not from it, you don't really know where are these safe areas to go down. And so long as you keep moving, you'll be fine. So we just were very serious afterwards. The light had went down. It was dark out. We were just kind of powering our way back to the hotel because we did not feel like we were in a safe environment. People were reaching out to touch us, and, just a little concerning. So that's the only thing that I would keep in mind if you're traveling to Pittsburgh from out of the area and you're not familiar. Maybe stick to some of the main areas after night hits, or go and get your things done early in the day before it gets dark. Just if you're not very comfortable with that kind of thing. So that night, it was like a dream come true. The 10 of us all crammed into our hotel room, and we watched Kamikaze Girls. And it was so much fun. This was the first time I had seen the movie, and if you're unfamiliar, it's really big in the Lolita community, as the main character is a Lolita. And she's not a Lolita in your typical way. Usually when people see a Lolita, they'll be like, oh, they're so sweet, and they're lovely and nice. And she's kind of a scamp. She's rude. She's like, I don't have friends. I don't need friends. I just need my frilly clothes. Kind of refreshing. And really funny as well. Yeah, so to be able to share that moment with so many other people who have such an appreciation for the fashion, it felt like a fairy tale. I never could have expected my life to get to a point where I was able to have this moment with so many of my friends. It was just a daydream. Like, I think about it now and it just feels like a daydream. Okay, so Sunday, the day of the tea party. This was the main event, and it was a brand tea party, which means that everyone would be able to go in, Meta would be there, all of the guests of the fashion show would be there, all in a room, there'd be food, we'd be communicating and just hanging out, having a good time. There was 3 tiers of ticket you could get. There was general, there was premium, and there was VIP. You could also have different add-ons, such as a photo shoot, which I ended up adding just to make sure I would have nice pictures of my coordinate for the day, which was Metamorphose, Temps, Fille Bridal OP from 2003. This was my ultimate dream dress, and honestly, it's the only thing that's come close to an ultimate dream dress or dream dress to me in general. So I was really excited to show it off to the brand that started it all for me. I was very excited for this event, and when you were at checkout with each ticket, you could put in what kind of dietary restrictions you had. I'm vegetarian for the most part, so I put that down, and I'm also lactose intolerant, so I put dairy-free down, just so there'd be options, and I thought it was really nice that they had left the space for people to put that. An idea of the price breakdown, I only have what it would be with tax and fees, so if I can find the information for the base price without that, it's somewhere on the screen, but the general ticket price was $64, and the premium ticket price, which is what I got, was $80. I thought it'd be worth it just because I wanted to see what was in the premium level goodie bag. Each tier had goodie bags, a certain number of raffle tickets that were put in there, and then maybe 1 or 2 other things. So the premium also came with a bag of tea, and yeah, I was very excited to see what it would entail. So I showed up, VIP was allowed in early, after that premium was allowed in, and this is where it got a little bit interesting. So I went to check in, and I said, hey, like, just so you know, I put down for the vegetarian and the dairy-free option, just because in the past I'm used to having to say that if I go to events like this, usually they have things off to the side for dietary restrictions. They said, yeah, okay, like, it's buffet style, so everything will be out on the buffet, and when it's time to go get food, you will just select the dairy-free vegetarian options up there. So I said, okay, so then we sat down, then we went up to check out the options at the buffet, and it was standard fare. It was cucumber sandwiches, chicken salad, scones, cupcakes, and fruit, as well as veggie sticks. The only thing I could eat on that table were the veggie sticks and the fruit. So I was kind of mad about this, and I had to make the choice as whether or not I would be willing to eat the dairy options and suffer for the rest of the day, or be hungry, basically, because I didn't eat before the tea party. It is a catered event, and I was expecting to eat food there, especially when they list the option for people with dietary restrictions to be thought about. So I was I was greatly disappointed because, like I said, I spent $80, and this is a food event, and there was 2 things on the table I could eat. Everything else had dairy in it. The dessert option, which was the cupcakes, had nuts in it, and I heard someone in the line behind me go, "Oh, it has nuts. Guess I can't have that." So it's like nuts are one of the most common allergies. I feel like they could have at least not had nuts. It's even more frustrating as someone that has organized tea parties to see dietary restrictions not be taken into account at all. So yeah, and these are really common ones too. Dairy is a common one, nuts are a common one. Um, we are living in a time where it's never been easier to accommodate dietary restrictions, so to see no effort given is really disappointing. My friends that I came with is also lactose intolerant, so it was veggie sticks and fruit. I ended up picking up all of the dairy items because I was like, fuck it, like, I already paid this much money and I'm gonna be really hungry for the next 3 hours because I didn't eat anything before this. I'll just suffer. So as we were sitting there, Kat came around, one of the J Fashion staff, and was asking how people were doing. And that's when we brought up that there was no dairy-free options except for veggie sticks and fruit. That's when it began to unfold a bit more that there was supposed to be options. And I guess the Westin Hotel, since they had forced the J Fashion crew to cater through them, was supposed to be taking care of the dietary restrictions and just didn't. And there was a bunch of people who were gluten-free that just didn't have anything because the kitchen decided they were not going to use the gluten bread. So that sucked. Nothing to say about that, especially if the J Fashion people did what they could to make the event possible. It's just very disappointing, and I wish that things had been communicated ahead of time. I would have maybe eaten something beforehand, or I could have brought Lactaid and tried to see then, instead of in the moment having to decide that I was going to have to disregard a food intolerance and be in discomfort for the remainder of the event. Aside of that, they made it a really nice time. They had things like games, so there was a crossword puzzle, which was extremely difficult, but there was also a word search, and I'm weirdly competitive when it comes to word searches. So it was a lot of fun to try and finish that one as quickly as possible. After that, they had a competition for coordinates, so I got up to walk around in it, not because I had any ideas of winning, but mostly because I wanted to see what everyone's chord was, and that was the best way to do it. I almost wish there was like a show and tell section where people who wanted to show off their chord could like come across the front, because I just wanted to know what people were wearing to this event. I got to see some of it standing in the line, but after we all sat down, it was a bit harder to see everyone's chord. So I got to see a lot of people's chords, and it was really, really awesome. For the premium gift bag, I'll give a little bit of a rundown with what I got. I know that the general bag, they got a selection of Metamorphose postcards, and they also got an air freshener, I believe, from Puvathel, of like an assorted design. And then they would get smaller goodies from the brands, whether it was things like a sticker or a print, things like that. The premium gift bag, we got a pair of Metamorphose Temps Fille socks. So the socks that I got were Romantic Kimono OTKs in black. And these work out really well for me as I'm getting more into lolita. And then I also feel like it's possible for me to wear these with my black cords that have rose motifs like bridal OP. I feel like maybe I could work this in there somehow. They're also a really nice, stretchy, comfortable material that feels very breathable. So I was very happy with the socks that I got. I too got the Meta postcard series. Yeah, so it was really cool as well and very unique. And then I also got the tea that was mentioned. And it was a green tea, and what I really like about this is not only was it loose leaf, but they included things like sachets to put the tea in if you don't have a strainer. And they also included rose petals, so you can throw in a few into the green tea or just have it on its own. I thought this was a really nice setup instead of just giving us a bag of tea. They also gave out these journals, which I thought was kind of interesting. I think once we all ate and the raffle and everything, that's when things kind of broke up, and you're able to stand up and like walk over to people and talk to them and get to know them, which I really liked. It was really cool just to see how far people came. People who had been coming to this event for like since its inception basically, and people who are also first comers. It was really fun to see such a broad group. I was also really flattered. A few people recognized me, so if you did and you came up to say hi, thank you. It meant a lot. It was really reassuring. And unexpected. So that really made my day, and like I still think about it and it feels really nice. So thank you for coming up to say hi. I'm very impressed if you recognize me, especially since I didn't have my mask on. But yeah, so thanks. You helped make the event very fun. After that, we decided to do some last minute shopping. My friend and I, we were going to go to the exhibitors hall since we had about an hour before things shut down. And on our way out, that's when we had one of the J Fashion staff come up to us and let us know a bit more about what was going on behind the scenes. And unfortunately, the kinds of things that they were working up against. That was definitely very illuminating and helpful in knowing what was going on. And I really don't fault the J Fashion staff, at least, especially like the one that we talked to, because it seems like it was more so out of their hands. Like the Westin who catered it said that they could handle accommodations and just chose not to. It's also worth mentioning that the scones that they served were not fully baked. They were the frozen kind that you're supposed to put in the oven and bakes to full. I believe it's called par baked. One of our friends is someone who works in a bakery, so they were able to give us the details about how these items come half baked and are supposed to be finished in the oven when you're going to serve them. That way they get a nice golden layer on them and they become a nice texture. These scones were cold and a little hard in the middle and also doughy. So it just was like a fail all around from the West, and they did a not great job. The J Fashion staff, they did everything they could, and I'm really happy that with everything they got this event going on because it still felt magical. This is a big socializing event, I understand, so that was nice. I just hope that in future years, the Westin or whoever it's run through is able to take more care in the patrons since we are paying to be in the space. Or if it's suggested that we bring something, like I would bring something if I was let to know ahead of time, like, hey, you might want to bring something, I would do that. Especially thinking about it, like, you can even make egg salad, and that can be dairy-free and vegetarian, so there's options. You could make a tomato sandwich with balsamic vinaigrette on it. But J Fashion staff did really nice, and thank you for putting on such a special event that I will remember for a really long time and was a really special occasion for me and all of my fellow comm members. So, all in all, would I come back? Absolutely. I want to come back next year. I already was planning it the second that it ended, basically. It was so much fun. It was a lot of fun to meet everyone. People were so nice, they were very helpful. It was a great experience. I will still go to the tea party next year. I just might be a little more mindful and I might bring something of my own if I'm not feeling that confident. And I think I would probably only do premium again if it was a brand that I really liked. So it was Metamorphose. And I wanted to know what the goodie from Metamorphose was going to be. But if it was a brand I was not as interested in, I think that I would just go general admission. The advantage to getting the higher tiers is you get to select where you sit. But for the most part, people went in their groups, which was nice, but it also made it a little harder to socialize until the end when we were able to get up and walk around. And so aside from that, I want to talk about the layout of the convention. I really liked it. I've been in conventions before where I felt packed and overstimulated. I was constantly in someone's space whether I wanted to be or not. There was no escaping it. Also, there would be an over-reliance on things like stairs, and, you know, if you're in Lolita heels or shoes or platforms or you have any kind of mobility needs, this place had a lot of escalators, which I appreciated. No issues with the escalators either. They were not turned off at any point from what I'm aware of. They did have one elevator, one or two. I didn't really use them. I mostly use the escalators, so I can't attest to their availability. Also, a lot of really good photo areas. The Westin itself was very beautiful. They had a sky area where you could take pictures and you could see some of the rivers coming together and the steel bridges. You could also take a picture with the city backdrop on the other side. On the second or third floor was a rooftop garden you could walk through. It was just a very beautiful area, a lot of really good opportunities to take photos if you're into that sort of thing. And all the food I had there was very delicious, and I didn't find it as expensive, especially considering that I was in Boston the week before, which was pretty expensive for food. So here are my con goodies. On the left, we have a punk and what kind of looks to me like a punk Lolita look from the Okashi shop. I said earlier I really like when indie brands especially, but really all brands come out with novelty or print pieces, as it allows me to have a piece from that shop. And yeah, I'm always on the lookout for good art. They had a lot of other cute ones too, and I believe they have them on their website as well. On the right, we have the L and Light ship art from Death Note. Really fun. This was one of the earliest things I remember seeing cosplayed on the internet back when I used to hang out on DeviantArt. So this was like a little blast from the past. Below that, we have these purple wrist cuffs from Belladonna. I didn't realize just how many colors of wrist cuff and head bow they have, and I think I may start looking towards them when I need fun color wrist cuffs. It perfectly matches some of the weird lavender pieces from AP, like Princess Cat, so I will definitely be looking to them for the future. Next to that, we have the OTKs in the pink colorway from Metamorphose Temps Fille. This is a new colorway that they offered, and these socks were the first thing to go when it came to Meta Stand. It was quickly stormed, and then if you didn't get socks then, they were gone. Yeah, so very comfortable, very cute, and I hope that they keep adding different colors of sock. I would really love to see like a red one or something. Following that, we have some keychains from One Piece. This is Sanji on the left, who was my crush as a child, and Zoro on the right, who I feel is a lot more respectable. But I know that they're a pretty cute ship too, so it's just nice to have and support them both, I suppose. Next to that, we have two rose rings made out of kimono fabric from Le Petit Meow. And if you are getting into Lolita, they have a lot of really good jewelry and accessories that uses actual kimono fabric, so it will pair very nicely with any of the meta releases or otherwise. I got this yellow ring because originally I was thinking of getting the new meta release in yellow, but now I'm thinking I might go towards black. And the red just because I think it would match what I already have. This Octobi sticker is also by Le Petit Meow, and they had ones for all different identities as well. And we have this super cute Cinnamon Roll Miku collab print. I really wish I had gotten the name of this artist because they had a lot of really cute prints and I really liked their art style. Also got some stuff from Spooky Sparkle Party, who is putting on KCON this year, and as we know, KCON is going to be on an indefinite hiatus due to financial situations. It's really nice to have some of their pieces, and I am planning on figuring out a cord to wear to KCON with the necklace on the left. After that, we have the Metamorphose postcards, which were given out during the tea party in the goodie bags. Recently, if you have made an order from Metamorphose, they've started doing these full-scale ads in the box, and when I'm on a low to no buy, I personally unfollow them just because they are very risky for me. So to have a pre-order come in with these full page ads was like, no! Yeah, but I really like these prints, and I like that they're smaller, so it'll be easier to put them up on my wall. I also included 2 of the 3 teas that were offered. So we had the Citrus Rose, which was an herbal blend, and a green tea blend as well at the tea party. They had a vanilla black as well, which is something that I find to be a staple in tea parties, and that's usually the one that I go for. If you went to the tea party or if you went to either of the meta panels, you could also get this I Met Metamorphose sticker or ribbon for your badge. I didn't put mine on just because it feels too precious, so maybe I'll figure out a way to put that in a frame too. After that, we have one of the 2 hoodies that I got. This is a crop hoodie from S2 Heart, and they had a lot of these really cute bunny-related designs for their hoodies, but they went very quickly, so at the end it was between this and a few other designs, and I ended up going for this one. Also not mentioned is that I did pre-order the hoodie from the Yokashi shop that they presented in their runway, and currently I'm waiting for that to come in, so I really am looking forward to that. So did you go to Tekko 2023, or have you in the past? I wanted to know what you thought of this event, what you thought went well, if there was anything you would change, what kind of panels that you went to, and especially if you went to the tea party, what you thought. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more Lolita fashion content or tangential content or interest of mine in general. If you want to find more of my stuff, you can see me on Tumblr and on Instagram at Royal Sealy. And I'm working on a Neocity, so it's probably going to be a while since I just started playing Neopets again, and it's absorbing a lot of my life. Alright, have a great summer or winter.